Tara, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's spring is here, maybe summer may be on the way, but we're not here to talk about weather. We're here to talk about sales, here to
Yeah.
talk about business growth. Tara, you're a motivational speaker. You're also an author, and you talk about mindset. And I think mindset in leadership and in sales is so important because you could have the greatest script or playbook in the world, but if someone doesn't have a mindset, they can struggle. And for me, mindset is confidence. But before we delve into that, why take the road that you have taken in your career?
I've been in the industry for a long time, had a lot of years of experience, been doing this for over 30 years, and just saw that there was a need to try to help guide people to keep an open way of thinking about the way they approach business. Mindset's so important because it really you know what you need to do to guide your teams. And I think sometimes people lose focus on what's really important. Strong leadership's not about always making um, the right decision every time, but it's understanding that the impact of your decisions affect the entire system. I mean, throughout my career, I've seen businesses not breaking because of bad strategy. They break because leaders do not really think about the fallout of some of their decisions.
Yeah, we would work with founders in SaaS or in manufacturing. And what we could see sometimes is that a founder will take in a sales team
Yeah.
and one guy sells this way and another guy sells this way. And, and everyone is selling differently. And there's a sales leadership meeting once a month. And it's
Right.
rah, rah, yeah, motivational. You're doing a great job, but there's
Yes.
no real fundamental
Hmm.
strategy or system behind it.
Yeah.
And if you can get a whole team to, we could call it a structure, a playbook, a framework, whatever it may be,
Hmm.
if they all follow along in a methodology or framework, you can actually measure the results and see what's going wrong and what's not going wrong. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's absolutely right. I think if you don't do that and you don't keep a handle on that, it's easy to get misalignment because you can have people going right and people going left, and you're needing to it. That the saying is, you want to be in the boat, you want to all be rowing together, going in the same direction, so you get the momentum going, and you're building the kind of momentum you're needing to grow the business. And if you've got people working against each other, even unknowingly sometimes, it
Explain
really
that to
works
me.
against us.
Explain that working against each other.
If you have a manager that is very customer first driven, and they're pushing the idea that they want to keep the customer happy, and they're focusing on customer service from that direction, you're going to take a very different approach than a salesperson that is numbers no matter what, and the customer's not always right. You need to make sure that you're on the same page. You don't want to have people taking those two different approaches because it can backfire. You're going to have people doing things in one way or the other that you're not going to be comfortable with or happy with. So it's very much about setting the tone, and this is what I expect. This is what I want you to do, and the manner in which I want our company as a whole to pursue it. I mean,
Yeah,
get them going the right direction together.
I think there's
That's
a balance.
problematic.
I think it is a balance about getting them to do it correctly and not micromanaging them as well.
Yes, yeah, and I think most people want to do things the way that's expected. A lot of times when people go off on their own, it's because they don't know what's expected, and so they go about it the way they think is best. So it's just laying out the framework of, "This is what we want you to do," and then letting them do what they do, because you have them on board to do their job, but you wanna give them kind of, "This is the guidelines we wanna follow."
Do you think more and more companies are starting to, especially after, we're in 2025 and, not hear me, 2020, we are here in 2026.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's 6 years after COVID started.
crazy.
I think that a lot of organizations now are seeing that selling is evolving, that it's no longer what it was, but it's
It's
more about relationship and partnerships.
I think it's relationship and partnership. I think that it also changed a lot with the whole COVID, where people were doing things more remotely online. You've got not necessarily all brick and mortar buildings where you've got the whole team in one place now. People are working from more diverse
Locations and
locations. I mean, people are working from their home far more often now than they are working from a brick and mortar building. I mean, used to be, everybody would go to the sales office and everyone would be together. That dynamic has changed a lot, and it's changed how you're having to manage. Because you're dealing with teams that are spread out pretty far. That makes it a little bit more challenging, I think, at times to try to keep everybody together on the same page. So you have to work a little bit harder at that, I think. There is something to be said about being able to have people together because then that way they can bounce ideas off of each other easier. But there are benefits to being remote as well.
yeah, it's like with leadership. I know leadership, when you'd have everyone in the room, it was a case they could bounce ideas off each other.
Mhm.
But with online or working remote, they still can, but
Yes.
you need to push them a little
Yeah.
more.
Right.
The conversation is slightly different. How do we know this? Like yourself, I've been in sales 30 odd years
Hmm.
and being mentoring and coaching for over a decade. And what we've seen is that when you sort of push people and coaching, because we do everything online, and
Hmm.
the people that are willing to learn and the people that can be coached and mentored
Right.
are, doesn't matter if they're in a room or if they're
Yes.
online.
That's absolutely true. I agree with that, completely.
Yeah.
I think that, if you've got someone that's wanting to do the job well, they adjust.
Hunger. What was your first sales job?
I actually worked for a company called Tropic Fasteners, and it was, dealing with industrial fasteners for, OEMs. So OEMs would, make original equipment, and then we would help them design in whatever components, help put that together.
Wow. For me, I realized 18, 19, I'd love sales. Did you
Yes.
have that moment yourself that you went, I like this?
Yes, because I love the feeling of helping people, and I like to talk to people. The combination of the 2, sales is perfect for that, right? You're out, you're meeting people, you're talking to people, you're figuring out what issues they have, and you're helping them design in solutions, and it's rewarding to me because you see you helped them through a situation and got them to the other side of it. I love helping people,
To
so
connecting,
yeah,
connecting the dots.
yeah.
We're noticing now in 2026 that there's a lot of, companies, they're all sort of driving towards LinkedIn. And
Mhm,
LinkedIn, DMs, this, DM that, and no more cold calling or calling people anymore. Everything done is done by DM. We I've been with LinkedIn since, I don't know, 2008, 2009. And we looked at the data and we had sent 52,000 emails, DMs out since then. And I
yeah.
was looking at the DMs, and I kind of, this morning I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about the amount of DMs that have gone out and the amount of business that has come in. And we get all our business from it. But I had a reflection. Is it a cop out as well for a lot of people just to say we DM and are frightened to email, are frightened to cold call? And it's like, is it a cop out? That's the thing that came into my head today.
It is one thing that I push heavily for the teams that I manage is, you can get a lot further in a 5-minute conversation than you can emailing and DMing. It'll take you 20 DMs to get what you can cover in a minute's time on the phone. So I push them. I'm like, you need to pick up the phone. You need to still talk to people. You still need that interaction. It
Yeah.
also builds stronger relationships, I think, when you actually talk to someone, be it on the phone or even through a Zoom or a Teams call where you're actually speaking to someone. I think you go deeper when you actually do that.
Yeah, you said it out. I often say to people, we could have a 5 minute chat and cover everything instead of 50 emails backwards and
Right.
forwards.
Right.
And I'm thinking about DMs because a lot of organizations are saying, "Oh, we'll get you, 20 appointments a month through DMs. We'll do this." And now, what I can see is there's a lot of people, small business owners, who can be very desperate and
Mhm.
jump into this thing, hoping this is the
Yeah.
silver bullet. And I
Right.
don't think it is. I think with a phone call, it's as you've nailed it. It's building that rapport. There's
Right.
an element of doing it that builds trust.
Yeah.
It's the rapport, but also the person that speaks to you. They will then go on to LinkedIn and look at your content.
Yes.
They will go on to your website and look at your website, which
Mhm.
builds more trust. So it's not just DMing and not doing anything. I think you have to DM. I think you need to be posting on social media, whatever platform your audience is
Yeah.
in. But I think the phone as well
Mhm.
is crucial. I think
I
it's
do.
and
Believe.
and even to a point that it's like a cold call, but it's a
Mhm.
warm call probably because you're connected with them on LinkedIn. Is that the
Yeah.
same strategy that are using
Absolutely.
yourselves?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that where like a LinkedIn comes in, it keeps you in contact with people. I use LinkedIn. You'll have for me in business, you'll have a buyer in our industry. You have buyers that move. They'll move from one company to another. And it keeps you in contact because you build that relationship. I have buyers that I have followed through 3 or 4 transitions over a 20-year time frame. And it keeps you in contact, but what really keeps that relationship strong is that periodic reaching out and talking to the person. "Hey, how are you doing? Is there anything new on the horizon that you need help with?" So it's doing both. I use LinkedIn to really make the connections and not lose contact with people. And, if I see someone move from one place to the other, I'm like, oh, they moved there. I need to reach out because that's somewhere I could probably help them there as well. But that phone conversation is what deepens and keeps that relationship because you're able to ask them, "Hey, how's your wife?" Or, "Oh, have you been traveling home to see your family?" Because those little things that you can do over a phone. You can't do that over a DM so much.
No, and with a DM as well, 20 DMs, and that could be over a period of 6 months.
Yes.
And you can ask someone a DM and they may see it. And if it's too complicated for them to type, and I don't mean
Right.
that's a question that it takes my brain power, I'll just leave it. And then you just
Yeah.
get lost in the DMs as well. So, yeah, I think that for prospecting element, we push clients to build up their LinkedIn profile, use
Mhm.
DMs, but there's a stage when they have to use the phone as well.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
I think if you use the phone, your business will grow quicker.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things I think that people have become reliant or comfortable with email. It's a little bit more outside your comfort zone when you actually have to pick the phone up and talk to someone. And so sometimes they rely on the email and the DMing because it's you
Easy.
don't but if you do the, phone conversations and I say the Zoom or the Teams, it gives you more of a result. I think you get more out of it if you do that, and so I tell people, I'm like, "Don't do that. Pick up the phone. It's really important. That phone conversation is vital if you really wanna grow."
Yeah, but it's also important knowing what to say, what not to say, and how to
Yes,
say it. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
There's so many,
absolutely.
there's so many different ways, but it's identifying and it can
Right.
grow on that. What do you feel is the most important part of the whole sales process that most sales representative in organizations don't spend enough time on?
It's finding out where a customer has an issue that needs addressing. It's finding out where that they have pinch points and giving them a solution. It's not so much trying to sell, "Hi, I'm Bob,
I
and
make
I'm this great salesperson." Okay, they don't wanna hear all of that. They know you're in sales. They know that you're selling this widget out here, whatever it may be. They know this. What they're wanting is solutions. They're wanting you to take the problems off of their desk and make it where it's not something they're having to think about anymore. So it's like really getting the conversation headed in a direction where they feel comfortable letting you know what those things are. So I like to approach it where I'm like, tell me right now, what are the things that you have going on that are causing you the biggest issue? Maybe I can help you with that. What right now is it that's sitting on your desk, and you get them to talk, oh, well, this thing over here, I've been working on it for 2 weeks and I can't seem to get any headway with this. Well,
Yeah.
let me try and help you with that,
And
you
if
know?
the thing as well, they'd say, well, look, we're grand there, that department. It's about asking questions. No,
Yes.
and it's about listening. The one thing that I've
Yes.
learned over the years, like you do public speaking like myself as
Yeah.
well, there's one thing that I have really learned over the years is I've been podcasting since 2016, 2017, becoming a good listener.
Mhm.
And when you're speaking to people or when you're coaching, a sales team, it's saying to them, don't worry about the outcome and don't go
Right.
in and trying to sell something. Just go in to listen
Right.
and be
Yeah.
able to respond.
Yeah, I think that we're people that are in leadership, it's not about perfection. It's about when you're in leadership, it's like widening the lens and listening for early signs of misalignment, like with your team, especially. It's like if their things are sounding a little off, really keeping your ear open to listen for those misalignments. And then having the discipline to recalibrate when's needed when that starts occurring. Because I mean, I think that oftentimes misalignment, if you're paying attention, you can detect it really early. But I think that some people are we've started this process. I'm not going to change direction. I've already started. It's going this way. Well, if you sense that there's misalignment and it's not going the right direction, it's being humble enough to realize that you're not always right and sometimes you need to recalibrate and correcting the direction, even if it's just slightly, to get the team going the right way and get it calibrated back to where it needs to be. Um,
Yeah.
and oftentimes people won't slow down enough to make that assessment.
Yeah. You mentioned the word humble, and
Yeah.
it's a great word. And I think we all need to be humble at some stage.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a deal that you should have won that you didn't, and looking back on it, you realize what you did?
Absolutely. There was a deal a few years back and I do think we again the momentum going in the direction we were going, we it got moving and we were taking it the way that we were going. And the customer did give some insight that they were wanting it a little bit differently, but we continued on and we ended up not getting it and someone else came in and offered them what they had hinted at that they wanted and if I could have gone back, I would have changed the direction and it would have fixed it. Yes. And it's one of those things I think you learn that over years. You look back and you're going, I should have slowed down and I should have been more.
Yeah, I think it's slow down, and I can think of a deal, and looking back, I rushed that,
Yeah.
and I missed one of the things they were looking for.
Yeah.
You look back and you kind of go, if I had just followed the system.
Yeah.
So, so we, I'm the author of Salescraft, and we have 5 steps in the whole sales process. And in that whole sales process, I've narrowed it down to about 16, 17 elements, down to paraphrasing at the end of one call and booking the next call. These are all, and I
Right.
look sometimes and I look back, you know what? I didn't follow that. Now, the process can be fluid, but it says I
Right.
didn't follow that,
Yeah.
and I lost that deal.
Some people also one of the big mistakes you make in sales is, you'll get a client, get business, and then you get comfortable. You're like, okay, I got it. And you stop putting the amount of effort to maintain that relationship with that customer because you've gotten comfortable. I got it. And you're moving on to the next thing. But you've got to also keep in mind that even when you get that initial deal settled, you need to maintain that contact. You need to maintain those check ins and those things with that customer to make sure that you're staying in alignment because things change little over, little increments over time. So it's that maintenance of those relationships. You don't just get in and then drop it and move on. If this is a long term customer, you have to stay engaged.
I look and I say to the team, I said, we look at every client as a case study. So this client will represent us as a case study moving forward to the next client and
Right,
so on. So let's focus on giving them everything to make this one of the best case studies. And
right.
and that way you're approaching it from a different angle. And I think with motivation and with leadership, we have to look at things differently to get results. Instead of saying,
Right.
make this client great and we don't want to lose them. No, let's look at
Yeah.
it as from a different angle
Hmm.
and let's be the best that we can be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, not getting comfortable and staying engaged. I mean, like the being able to stay engaged the entire time. You have to work at that. I think it's easy to get comfortable and kind of ease back on, your focus on things. You have to purposely try to stay engaged and make sure that you don't lose the focus on that being very important.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you mindset meeting management.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a platform where it's really about big picture thinking, bridging the mindset between operational and leadership. The fact that you got leaders have to avoid, I call it silo thinking, where people, you're in leadership and you're only focusing on, if you're in sales, I'm only focusing on the sales. Purchasing, you're only dealing with purchasing. When you're in business, you have to really look at the big picture. What is the overall effect going to be for the whole? Because ultimately, if you've got a car, it's got 4 tires on it, one of those tires goes flat, that car is not going anywhere, okay? You've gotta keep, the focus on the big picture when you're making decisions because there's fallout from decisions, And you've gotta make sure that you're protecting the customer, the business, and the employees. Sometimes, you'll be so focused on the customer, you won't realize that you're gonna burn out employees, and in the process, you could lose valuable employees, and in the end, you're gonna suffer for that. Or you could be looking solely at the business and if you focus so heavily on that and you lose focus on the customers and the employees, you're losing those, and without those, you don't have a business. It's really trying to keep the big picture in mind.
What sort of milestones do you see or have you seen that need to be implemented into a silo to actually build better culture and have a better connection with the rest of the
I
organization?
think it's communication is key.
Yeah.
What happens is you have your silos start working completely independently of one another. And when you get that detachment where you've got this silo over here doing their thing and this silo over here doing their thing, and there's no communication between the leadership, between the two, everybody is kind of doing their own independent thinking. That's problematic. Problematic, because I mean, the saying is, sales wants everything in inventory now and they want a lot of it. And purchasing doesn't want to buy anything until absolutely the last second
Yeah.
because they don't want anything in the warehouse. You've got to have that intermingling where there's give and take between both. Where there's complete separation at times and witnessed that, and it's not good for the corporation as a whole when that occurs. And I think that management really needs to push the fact that those walls need to come down and we're all part of the team together. It's not broken out and we're not us against them. When you have that kind of scenario occurring in business, that's problematic. You need to have it where it is we're all on the same team. We need to be working towards the common goal, and that's for us to be able to do things where it's beneficial to all, not just one.
What advice would you give a company or a founder who agrees with everything that you're saying and says,
Mhm.
"Okay, I get that, and we do have silos." What What's the first thing in communication would you get them to sort of tick the box to make sure that they don't just go into a meeting and everyone's just going, yeah, 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 and leave?
I think it's really encouraging people to be able to be honest without there being negative ramifications for that. People are not going to, if they feel as if they're honest, that it's going to come back and there's going to be some kind of negative effect. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. They're
Yeah.
going to tell you what you want to hear.
Laugh at the boss's jokes.
Yeah, and loudly, even when they're really bad.
Which
Um,
go on, go on.
You need to have it where that people know that you're willing to listen to input, even if it's saying, "Hey, boss, we think your idea needs a little bit of an adjustment," and that you're willing to take constructive criticism. Now, I'm not constructive criticism is where they're coming in with a solution, something where, "Hey, we're doing it this way. I think if we did it this way, it would be better." I'm all about if you're gonna come into a situation criticizing something and have something to put in place of that or a suggestion. Don't just come in with a complaint. What would you suggest would be better? That kind of thing. But having it where you've got a wide enough lens that you're willing to accept input from your employees and that when they give it, that it's clear to them that it's welcomed and they're not going to be punished for questioning. And I define the way that that is put forward to people is come with a solution. Don't just come with a complaint.
Yeah, I think it's, I've often say don't come with a solution, but don't come with a problem, come with a solution.
Yeah,
Actually
yeah,
see people then, developing that and kind of going, oh, okay, yeah. And the toxicity goes. It's the uncomfortable truth, really.
yes, yeah, and it's being able to listen for like language drift. Like if you're with your group and suddenly everybody's gone from being really excited about the project to there's a little sluggishness to way they're responding. Okay, what's going on, guys? What seems to be different? Why are we feeling a little bit less excited about this? And recalibrating early. When you start feeling that, really staying engaged with your people so that that's happening. But you have to pay attention to the people, and know your people. And again, encourage them to communicate regularly so that way you can feel that. Because if
Yeah.
they're coming into a meeting and they're being silent and they're just shaking their head the whole time you're talking, you're not getting much out of that.
Yeah.
You could put that in a memo. You need that exchange, where you're not the only one exchanging information. They're giving it back to you. That's what you need from them.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a communication, but it's also being able to listen. And
Yes.
you can have ego, you can have
Mhm.
all these, feelings,
Yeah.
resentments or whatever. But I think everyone has to be critiqued, and a company can grow when we're like when we do keynotes. We like to be critiqued so we get it even better the next time. What are founders feeling? From your research and speaking to a lot of companies, what are founders and CEOs feeling at the moment about their sales departments and companies that you speak to?
I think that everybody, I mean, I think everyone's hoping that, numbers are going to continue to grow and they're going to, I think there's a shift in the way that people are wanting to work. I think with, people wanting to be more remote and do these things that is a different dynamic. That is by far the norm now. So that is changing the way that you're looking at how you go about conducting business and managing the teams. I see a lot of positivity out there though. People seem to be gravitating towards this is the new norm. This is
Yeah,
the
I
new
think the
norm.
culture, I know the world has gone a bit crazy, but I think there's a positivity in manufacturing as well.
Yeah, we're seeing numbers grow, and with manufacturing, we're usually a little bit ahead of the curve with that, with the industry that I'm involved with. And we've been seeing numbers grow. So there's a little bit of an uptick, I think, in the view on how things are going right at the moment.
Tell me, what did you get wrong to get right?
Defending decisions instead of really examining the impact fast enough.
Explain that.
You make a decision, you've got your information together. You make the best decision off the information you have at the time.
Yeah.
And So you make this decision, and then other factors come into play, and not making that adjustment fast enough because you've made the decision and you don't want to change it. You don't want to change your mind, and needing to be quicker at doing that.
Yeah, I think it's looking at the decision, making a quick decision, but actually pausing for a moment.
Yeah.
I say it's stop reacting but responding.
Right.
And it's not knee jerk. It's actually you have to make a quick decision, but just take all the facts in because
Right.
there's two sides to every story on it.
Yes.
What's the best business book you'd recommend?
Best business book, one that I actually was suggested to read by the president of the company, that one of the companies that I deal with, and was a great suggestion. There's a book called Believe in People by Charles Koch, and he was a ran quite a few businesses, very, very successful, great book. And it discusses the fact that when you're in leadership, you need to really keep feel out for what is happening on the ground level in your business. Not just lead from the top down, but really know what is affecting your people on the ground level and what do they need to be successful and make that happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's like a book, Move to Cheese.
yeah, yeah. So
It's
that
got
would be the one that I would go with, that the most recent one that I've read that I really liked. That was one that I read and I got a lot.
best business advice.
Don't get complacent.
That's a good one. I like that. That's a really good
I
one. Yeah.
I think that people get into a place where they get complacent, and when you get to that point, you're gonna suffer for it.
Yeah.
You need to stay engaged. You need to let your people know that you're engaged. You need to put in the work and not just sit back and think that things are going to manage themselves.
Yes. Don't get complacent and don't
Mhm.
sit in your laurels, as my mother would say.
Yes, absolutely.
AI,
Yes.
it's all the hot topic at the moment, and many different people are using it in different ways. And even with ourselves, when
Mhm.
jumping really into AI, we got so involved in it. I think we were just talking to AI for hours and then realizing that, hang on, this is just information. And we're
Mhm.
seeing different industries using the same database and they're saying the sort of the same stuff because I go, no, that's that's coming out of AI. So we sort of pull back on a lot of it, but we're using it for research to go
Mhm.
deeper into organizations, into companies, just so instead of reading lots of documents, you can do it a lot quicker and
Yeah.
and assist you. What's your thoughts with AI? How are you adapting AI agents into the industry? No.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we were using AI to help do a lot of the, like, for instance, our invoicing, for instance. We no longer have people sitting manually keying in invoicing. Our AI actually takes and inputs and does things like that. So, big benefit to that. I think that AI can be a really good thing if it's used properly. It helps with, filling in gaps, kind of speed, being able to do things that used to take, hours, now you can do in minutes if you use AI properly. As long as you don't become so self-reliant on it that you let it do your thinking for you. You can't do that. You still need the human factor. You still need to be able to think. You can't just plug it in and just go with whatever it spits out. You need to still continue to do your thing. I
Yeah.
think some people rely on it too heavily,
Yeah, it's
but I
like
think it's helpful.
I see people have AI boyfriend and girlfriends.
I think that is just, yeah, there are people that literally engaged with that level, and I'm like, it's a computer.
Yeah, it's a raw material.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen as well that it is good. But I also kind of go, if it's speeding things up, is that making us work harder? Or are people just speeding stuff up and just it's like throwing dog dirt against the
I
wall
just
and seeing what
think it
sticks?
makes me more productive. I mean, I'm able to, I can get a lot more done in a week than I could before. And I don't feel like I'm necessarily working harder, I'm working smarter. So in that way, I think it's good. I have it set up. I have some things set up like routines where I can put in numbers and it used to, I had to sit and crunch numbers and do things on certain aspects of the business that I'm involved with. And Now I can upload data and it will do that crunching and then give me a review that I can go through. And now I'm just doing the review aspect, which is ultimately what I needed to do, right? So if it
Yeah.
can get the numbers where I need them to be and help me facilitate that being faster, that's great.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's Excel spreadsheets
Right.
done. Great.
Yeah.
Um,
Quickly. Or
CRMs as well, being able
yeah.
to, adjust and read.
And you can ask it, like, if you really know how to use it, it'll be like, where are the blind spots on this project that I may not be considering? And it'll go, you may need to consider. And if you ask questions that prompt in the right way, sometimes it'll help you with maybe there's something you're not thinking through thoroughly. And it can trigger, hey, you might want to consider this. I've done that on multiple occasions and went, oh, I did not think about that. I need to address that. So there's benefits to it if you really know how to use it and make it a tool.
Yeah, I think it's going to do away with order takers. And I think that the new sales professional will come with the framework, the methodology, the communication between people with empathy and
Yes.
rapport, but also being able to have, their AI agent as well with them, like a VA.
Yeah, right.
It's able to navigate around. And I think it's going to benefit the
Yeah, I think it's
prospect or
gonna
the
help.
client as well to get
Yes.
more of what they're trying to achieve on it. Yeah.
I agree with that too. I think it's gonna allow us to be able to do more in a shorter period of time for the customers. And then for the businesses, that's great because then you'll have more time to help more people. So I mean, it all in all, I think it's a win-win as long as it's used the right way.
Should have bought shares in it years ago.
Right? I
Like,
know, it's like those things, you're like, "There's another one right there."
there's Apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
If someone wants to reach out to you, if they want to get you as a keynote speaker or, find out more about, speaking at an event, how can they find you, Tara?
I've got a website, mindsetmeetsmanagement.com, and they can also reach me on LinkedIn under Tara Brewer. So if they go to Tara Brewer, I'm out there and send me a DM and I will get in touch with them as quick as I can.
Tara, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.